Hello again, possums. Yes, it is I, the conspicuous Moo, with another video that was rather difficult to put together, just for the conflicting feelings that I have, having, left World of Warcraft relatively recently, and then having to look back and make some rather uncomfortable comparisons with the competitors in terms of your background content. Today it's me tanking extraordinarily badly while doing veteran Blackheart Haven. I need a mythic drop lead at the end, so please cross your fingers. Hope I get it. So, shall we get cracking? It's no secret that a number of prominent World of Warcraft creators are talking about and experiencing Final Fantasy XIV at the moment. Now, while I have no interest currently in Square Enix's MMO, there's little doubting that it is more tempting morsel to gamers than its blander Blizzard counterpart. I also cannot be alone in noticing that the flow of WoW content is definitely slowing up, even with the release of Burning Crusade Classic. Let's address the major content creators whose eyes are being swiveled in Final Fantasy XIV's direction. Preach, for example, did one video, but I don't really see him pivoting away from his base, and it was more for the curiosity of the actual raid mechanics, and he was probably just being pestered by his watching base to have a look at the game itself. Asmongold, of course, is the polarizing middleman of this trio, and he says he's going to at least try Final Fantasy XIV out. This is a little controversial in his sphere, because, his followers will screech and they will meme, but, is that more brand loyalty, which is slightly undeserved to World of Warcraft, than, actual outrage? I mean, well, most of his viewership just follow him wherever he ends up. Isn't it a little unusual to have his head turned in this way? Well, not really. He does try a lot of different games, and in terms of his actual content, I don't really see a lot from retail anymore, unless he's doing something in the background and reacting to something else. So when he is talking about retail on the few occasions that he does, it's usually complaints about the pitiable state that it's currently in. His playing streams, for the most part, are the Burning Crusade Classic, so yes, once more, World of Warcraft is being carried by its legacy projects. Bellular is my favourite and the most interesting case of the three, because he's more open about his experimentation with something different, and probably, let's be honest here, more deserving of his time and attention. Watching his content as he discusses the merits and demerits of both MMOs has been really interesting. It's clear that he's as frustrated with WoW's direction as many of us have been, and this unfiltered version of Bellular is much more watchable than the upbeat hype of previous content. It's now been replaced by this pragmatic reality. It's also really good to see someone actually robustly take Blizzard to task for their previous and upcoming design failures. So, why are these leading lights of WoW content creation looking across to another world? Well, for those of us that are counting at the time of recording, it is 202 days since Shadowlands launched. And as of this time of writing and recording, the world is still waiting a release date for the first major patch of this expansion. Now, obviously, not for the first or the last time, I suspect, Blizzard Entertainment has invoked the unnamed pandemic event as a reason that things are taking so long. So let's address this reason briefly, shall we? So, Blizzard are based in Irvine, California. Now, according to the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, California has a fully vaccinated population now of 45.3%, which is fantastic, and a lot better than Australia, for the record. That's predicted to be 50% by the end of the month. If you count the people who have had at least one dose, it's 58.3%. So it's not as if Cali is on the brink of another catastrophic wave of infection. They're actually travelling quite nicely, thank you. And given these figures, blaming your productivity woes on the coof is a bit disingenuous. Presumably, if you're struggling to produce in these stricken times, then your competitors are too, right? Right? Well, why don't we have a look and see? ZeniMax Online, the creators and maintainers of Elder Scrolls Online, one of WoW's major competitors and my game of choice, has released 2 DLCs, downloadable content, and a chapter since November the 2nd, 2020. For the record, Shadowlands launched on November the 23rd, 2020. So, in spite of the dreaded coup, ZeniMax Online have still managed to release content updates every 3 months on a consistent basis, including 3 entire zones with all of the delves, public dungeons, world bosses and quest lines and everything else that come with those. The completion of one, epic year-long storyline and the beginning of another one. A single-player arena, at least 20 new gear sets, item set collection where it remembers what you've looted or deconstructed, and then you are able to recreate the look that you want with transmute crystals. We've had user interface upgrades like ability timers as standard. We've had a redesigned champion point system, 2 dungeons, a raid character sheet improvement, the companion system, obviously, Oblivion portals, console enhanced, which hasn't been without its issues, endeavours, which is another way to earn currency in-game to buy crown crate items, a new tutorial, attempted performance improvements, and the jury is very much out on that, but that's quite a lot of work that's been put in. So ESO players are fortunate enough to get a steady stream of new content to do, delivered at a steady rate. They also publicly publish their plans for future updates. They have the whole expansion mapped out already. I am not across Final Fantasy XIV's patch cycle at all, but a cursory check of the patch history does reveal that Shadowbringers has had 2 major patch releases stuffed with content, system updates and bug fixes since December the 8th, 2020, with smaller incremental patches in between to add or correct as needed. And Endwalker, the 4th expansion patch, is due on November the 23rd, 2021, having also been delayed due to the coof. Now, this of course is also, by sheer coincidence, Shadowlands' 1-year anniversary. So just to remind you, World of Warcraft's first major patch release date is still yet to be announced. So it does seem that in spite of the global affliction, WoW's competitors seem to be able to pump out content pretty consistently. In fact, they can pump out so much that it does make a little bit of a mockery of Blizzard's attempt to use the coof as a screen to hide behind when players legitimately ask questions about why things are taking so long. Let's face facts, Blizzard are legitimately being eclipsed by their competitors. It's not really any wonder that players, being stuck in Shadowlands limbo for now almost 7 months, are looking elsewhere for their entertainment. Is anyone really that astonished that, WoW content creators are looking for other avenues and options given the scarcity of progress in their main game? MMOs as a genre do need movement in order to survive. Progression is absolutely key to retaining your player base, and going stagnant at any point will quickly erode the enthusiasm and interest in the game that you're presenting to the unwashed gaming masses, of which I count myself as one. I mean, for instance, look at WoW's classic server population since the Burning Crusades launch. Everyone is now moving on. And, when your content delivery lags, so does the hype. I mean, who at this point really cares all that much about what's going to be happening in 9.1? It's kind of like the latest James Bond flick, No Time to Die. We had the trailers come out and the hype generation train started and the song came out, but it's been repeatedly delayed since then. And now, all this way down the line, everyone I talk to about the film is like, oh, I might, whatever, I'm sure they will try and generate interest for the film again just before it's released, but I feel the momentum has been lost there, and people have just moved on to other things. And, Shadowlands is getting to that place if it isn't there already. The delay in continuing what they've started has killed a lot of interest in what happens. And like Bond, people have just moved on to other distractions. So, sure, I'm sure some players will resub for a little while, but it won't be nearly as many if, say 9.1 had released in February or March. A lot of people got tired of waiting and simply upped sticks, and you can't really blame them for that. And so as a result, Shadowlands, which started brightly enough, is pretty much a lame duck waiting to be put out of its misery at this point. There is a familiar stench around the game, similar to the one that enveloped Warlords of Draenor when Blizzard just cut it short and started work on Legion. And Shadowlands was meant to be another Legion, a better expansion to offset the car crash that was Battle for Azeroth. So much goodwill was jettisoned during BFA, but it was still there for the reclaiming if Blizzard had put the yards in. But now, after a smooth enough takeoff, it's slowed down to a stall and is now plunging towards the ground, and I doubt Cawthra and Sylvanas are going to save it. Then we could move on to the subscription model. Now, in Australia, a month's subscription to World of Warcraft is $19.95. But after, almost 7 months in, would you be happy shelling out another around $20 for nothing new? Or, on the other hand, would you be more interested in paying around $19 a month for a Final Fantasy XIV subscription with consistent patch and content updates and a fresh expansion around the corner? Once again, is it any wonder that people are figuring that they'll probably get more bang for their buck elsewhere? Elder Scrolls Online doesn't even have a compulsory subscription service, although I will concede that the subscription perks are worth the $15 that you pay. And yes, that's $15, so cheaper than the other two competitors. As for what's going on at Blizzard Entertainment itself, well, we can only really speculate. They're leaking a lot of old school talent right now who are setting up the direct competition of their own. The revelations about developers being paid minimum wages and being compensated with Blizzard balance wasn't a great look. And years of Blizzard knows best has not helped either. Chatter about how development has to go through multiple channels to even get implemented is not particularly astonishing to me, and the lack of clear communication is still an issue. Remember those dev chats we had when Ian and Law would just field questions? What happened to those? So it would appear that Blizzard are lethargic, lacking in motivation and productivity, and they're not agile or humble enough to rethink bad ideas or abandon them altogether. And yes, I'm looking at you, Conduit Energy. And so at this point, they're looking for a miracle to rescue the second Troubled WoW expansion in a row. When you layer on the icing of being unwilling or unable to communicate effectively with your remaining player base, well, it's really small wonder that people are looking elsewhere. It really is not an easy thing to give up a WoW character you've invested so much in, but it is absolutely necessary. The reason that Blizzard is losing players and content creators is not due to a pandemic, it's more due to their content being worse than their smaller, better performing rivals in the MMO space. Even when the entire world had to stay home in order to stay healthy, they lost gamers. And it's only going to get tougher to get them back now, with the release of a number of new MMOs in the market coming soon, New World and Ashes of Creation being the most notable. It is a truism now that the thing that will kill World of Warcraft is World of Warcraft itself, and WoW is facing many challenges on many fronts now, not least from within the walls of Blizzard Entertainment. It's going to take an awful lot of energy and some major changes to get up off the canvas at this point. I guess we'll see how prepared they really are. So that's it for now. Just a few of my condensed thoughts about, how Blizzard are really suffering at the moment, and probably a largely self-inflicted injury. I will be back relatively soon, but until then, stay fruity. I am the Conspicuous Moo, and a very good afternoon to you.